What's up, y'all? Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. Welcome to Free Thinkers. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Adult Conversation and Adult Topics. Welcome to Free Thinkers. If you are interested in joining us tonight, I'll try to be quick on this so we don't have to do this for a long time every week. But go over to the Facebook Free Thinkers group page. At the very top, it's pinned, and there is a image, an invitation that basically has the group information on there, along with a StreamYard link. The StreamYard link is how you get into the conversation live. If you're not interested in doing the conversation with us live, and maybe you want to just watch or participate with us in the chat, you can do that on either of our chats. You can do it on the YouTube channel, or you can do it on the Facebook channel. So two different ways, two different places where you can engage with us in the chat section. But we would love to have you come on and just talk live with us. Let's have a conversation. We don't necessarily have a set topic tonight. Tonight we're doing what we call pick a post, and pick a post is literally just that, where Q will generally go through the Facebook Free Thinkers group page and just find posts on there that are interesting, that may have had a lot of conversation, and may have had a little bit of conversation, that may be really, really old, that may be current. So it's a free for all. So we just call it our pick a post, our freestyle conversation. So if you had something that you'd seen on there before and you're like, oh man, I want to talk about this, and maybe we haven't, bring it up tonight. Come and join the conversation. And of course, if you would always share the page, join us on our platforms. You can help support us by hitting the share button. And for those of you who are watching us right now, thank you. And we appreciate you tuning in with us every Tuesday, or on any Tuesday that you can. So that's pretty much the basis, really, is every Tuesday. It's a different link every Tuesday. Sometimes we have topics. Usually we do. Sometimes we don't. You can come some Tuesdays. You can come every Tuesday. We'd love to see you more Tuesdays than not. But come and have some adult conversation with us. We generally go until 9:30. Every once in a while, we'll go over if the conversation is just that great, but you're welcome to tap out at any point if you need to. You can join late if you need to as well. Just come and join us. Come sit in here with us for the next hour, hour and a half, and have some adult conversation on a Tuesday night. I'm going to look down for a second, Q. If I've forgotten anything, please feel free. I'm just going to look down real quick, make sure that I am where I'm supposed to be, because Facebook is still hating on my links. So I don't know if I'm up on my personal page, but we are on the Facebook. We are on Facebook, Free Thinkers page, and we are on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, I've already done my sharing.
Confirmed. We are up.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So, do you want to talk about last week at all? I mean, I know you gave an explanation a little bit in the conversation last week, because I had some really interesting feedback after last week's conversation.
What was your feedback? I'm interested in knowing.
Everybody seemed to have felt the same way, that and there was one friend who had reached out and was like, man, I love what y'all do, and I love watching y'all, and I watch y'all every Wednesday on my way home from work, but like it didn't feel like it was going anywhere last night. And I was like, I can see why somebody could think that, or why somebody could say that. But the point that I made, and that I hope maybe other people have also maybe come to the realization of, is that that's what dealing with other people is. That's what having conversations with other people looks like. Like, and you and I kind of talked about this at the beginning before we decided what we're going to talk about today. Like, we can't all agree all the time. If everybody agrees with the same thing all the time, it doesn't necessarily make for great iron sharpening conversation, right? We all agree on the same things. So our talking points may be all very common themed. And being that we were obviously very dynamically opposed in last week's conversation in different places, I can see why somebody might think that, but
I'm not completely opposed to the idea of what he was proposing. I mean, the probability of it is unlikely, but even with the probability, I think that it is a good idea to come up with certain rules or structures to which you can come to a conclusion, and the certain structures that that can reinforce to yourself that my idea or my foundation is solid and firm. So even biblically, it's a thing biblically, it's something called hermeneutics, and there are rules and structures to properly interpret the Bible. And so when someone says this scripture means this to me, and someone else says, well, that same scripture means something else to me, there is actually a set structure to determine if you are properly interpreting something right. And it goes back to the history of it. What was it something that they were just talking to a certain specific people in that day, or was that something that was designed to apply to everyone? It something and if it is morally sound, then it wouldn't be the only place that you find it in that one. You can't just take one scripture out of the Bible and make a blanket statement. So there's another thing, talk about scripture confirms scripture. The same thing that you see in the Old Testament, you should see a moral parallel in the New Testament or in other scriptures that's also repeated, to where you just can't pull one thing that has a different meaning than everything else that you read. So my whole point is there's rules, and the rules are not exact and they're not 100%, but it does give you a guideline to let you know when and if you're on track. So I don't think the idea was bad.
No, I don't think so either.
But the other thing is, you test the idea out, and if your hypothesis shows to be faulty or incorrect in the process of that, then you're like, okay, all right, well, let me go back to the drawing board. But you don't double down on trying to prove something right. You do want to, you want to rub it against iron to see what it's really made of. But once you find that what you have is not made of the real stuff, then you got to go back to the drawing board. That's all.
Well, I just, maybe fear is the wrong word, but the concern maybe is a better word. The concern being that people might think that, oh, they just want to argue, and that's not what that is. Like that's not necessarily.
I want to argue.
I mean, maybe arguing your point, or just standing your position, but like with the intention of wanting to argue and have discord with somebody, like that's not necessarily the goal. But you also have to, you have to approach different people in different ways. And like my takeaway from there was quite a few takeaways, but one of the things that was asked in there somewhere, maybe I think Smack asked it, or maybe you, I don't know who asked it, but somebody had asked, Edward at the end of the conversation, what if you're wrong? And really, that's kind of like, that's really the bottom line of understanding, or maybe grasping the concept of understanding somebody else's perspective, is what if you're wrong? And I could be wrong too. I could be wrong too. But like, what if you're
right? So
wrong?
Okay, so that was my biggest, as far as going around in circles. If someone said, hey, it seemed like it didn't go anywhere,
right?
I was eager to establish what those rules were going to be. And I don't think we ever got to the rules of how you define what's factually solid or not. So since we never actually got to a set of rules or a set of standards that which we can bounce that off of, then that's one of the things to where, okay, it would have been good if we could have got there and actually tested that idea out with a set of rules.
I think his ideas were tested. I think the whole thing was testing
what were the
ideas that I can convince somebody to think otherwise.
What were the rules, though? What were the rules?
Well, I guess there weren't. I mean, I guess we use the rules that we already have, but
just like I just gave you an example with hermeneutic. I gave you like 2 or 3. I can give you a whole list of examples of what the rules are. So, and then we can take a scripture and I can run those rules down and say, hey, do we have this checklist down to decide if we're properly interpreting this thing or not? Yeah. If in that situation we didn't have, like, where were the rules? I was really looking forward to getting, like, what are the rules, so we can test this out.
Right. True.
That part didn't get there. I was disappointed about that.
Okay. Overall,
because though, I thought the premise was interesting.
Yeah. Aside from that, most people's feedback was like, "Wow, that was interesting," but people were like, "If that's the only episode, only conversation I've ever seen y'all do, I'd be like, whoa.
Yeah.
Don't come back.
Like, hey, y'all kind of.
Stick around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that was a little bit different, but I also think that
A little different.
it was a great experience, an experiment in dealing with other people, again, with perspectives that you might not necessarily agree with, and how to handle different people, how to handle challenging dynamics and energies, like how to agree to disagree or how to not,
Right.
if that's what the case may be. So it's interesting to get feedback from other people. So just for anybody who's watching us tonight, who maybe watched last week, who's not really terribly familiar with, what we do, you did give a moment to say, hey, look, this is not necessarily how we do all of our Tuesdays. Like, this
Yeah, I wanted to
was,
throw that out there. I didn't want to have
and after I
scared.
rewatched it, I was like, I'm glad that you said that, because I can totally, it was perfect to segue that, because I can see, if that was somebody's first time watching us, to be like, damn, they coming in. It was, it was visual. And it was, I think that even though we may not have stated the rules or put rules in place, I feel like we still had our regular rules, our guidelines in play, right? But it was to me, it was a good conversation. I realized some people are like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that again. That's cool. That's why every Tuesday's different, man. And tonight will be no different. Tonight will be a great conversation. God only knows where this is gonna go, but we're gonna go somewhere. So welcome, Denise. I'm good to see you 2 weeks in a row. It feels
I
like
know,
right?
shit.
So I had a revelation. I
So
have to come to church.
you know
That's
how it
what
goes.
it
You
is.
know how it is. You can't stay away too long.
I gotta be in church. I gotta be in the house of the free thinkers.
Well, are you helping out
Ah,
for holidays at all?
I'm still debating on what
Okay.
I'm gonna do.
Okay.
I'm still debating.
If you
You know,
come to, at least maybe not even for Thanksgiving, maybe the Christmas holiday or New Year's holiday. Like, if you do, we'll have to do like at least one free thinkers in person, just because,
you know
that's
what? I'm
what I
thinking about
do.
the somewhere between January and March. I do want to do an
hell yeah,
in-person free thinkers.
easy,
Definitely.
yeah,
Yeah.
easily, for sure, for
Yeah, that's
sure.
more likely. Is probably December.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Denise, before we start moving around this pick a poster, is are your heart and mind clear with all the Kyrie stuff, or you need
What
to
you
touch
mean?
on any of
Is
it?
my heart and mind clear?
Are you in a good space with all the Kyrie stuff, or you still got stuff on your chest you need to get off?
Oh, do I seem like I'm in a bad space about the Kyrie thing?
No, just wondering. Well, probably not the Kyrie, probably more about the Kanye. But I think Kyrie has overshadowed Kanye recently, as far as I could
I
tell.
think I think it's honestly for me, it's less about Kanye and Kyrie and more so about what this whole thing represents, which is beyond
Period.
at this point.
Period.
Right.
It's beyond them. It's
Period.
beyond them. It's beyond them.
Period.
It's beyond the comments that were made. This is a whole, to me, this has went somewhere else. I
Yeah.
think I would like to, if I talk about it, I want to talk about the larger conversation.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's the okay. So let's this is kind of a third cousin of what we're talking about right now. But let me ask while we're here. This is something that I just saw this, so as I'm scrolling down the line, and let's get your thoughts on this. Do you think all people are capable of being highly intelligent, but lack the understanding of what they are good at and use I can't read. And they hold on, and understanding of what they're good at and how to use their intelligence? So do all people have the same intelligence capabilities? I guess for the lack of a better way to say. Or some people just can't get right. They'll never reach a certain level when it comes to understanding and intelligence. What do you think?
Yes and no. And I really like that question, by the way, because it's like intellect in regards to what, right? Because it's like, I feel like intelligence is multifaceted, right? And I think that you could be highly skilled in one area and maybe not so much in another area, but it requires intelligence no matter how you cut it. But I do think there are a large group of people beyond a person having an actual mental disability where they're just like they're genetically unable to do X, Y, or Z. I think that everybody has the capacity to be intelligent. I wouldn't be surprised if they do too. It's just like I think, for example, I can't remember the actual condition is called when I think they like is it cerebral palsy where they didn't get enough oxygen before
Yes.
birth. So
Yeah.
something like that, where something happened where their maybe their brain cells or whatever may have been damaged. I think then mm, I don't know. Maybe they don't have the capacity to be able to do that from a physical like standpoint. Maybe I don't know. And maybe their intelligence is just something
Mm.
that maybe their intelligence is just something that we can't traditionally put in a box. So we want to call it something else. So maybe, you know what I mean? Because it's not like you'll be surprised people who have been categorized X, Y, or Z, like how bright they are in their own ways. So I think it just depends on how you want to measure it.
You know what I was thinking as you start talking, I was looking at the question: do all people, are they capable of being highly intelligent but lack the understanding? I don't know if it's understanding. I think there's certain things that go along with intelligence, and then one of the things I just thought of, I don't think I think curiosity is the starting point of intelligence, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that level varies from person to person. Um, and so some in order to be intelligent in a wide array of things, you have to have the question, like you have to have the questions that um go outside of your circle. Like there has to be a curiosity to say, like you'll hear even some people, church-minded people, even like myself. There's some people who would have to say, even though you're in a circle of like-minded thinking people, your curiosity would have to force you outside of the box of what's constantly presented to you. And also, you got to be willing to ask the questions and explore the questions. And I think that's one of the beginnings of intelligence is your aptitude for curiosity.
Mm.
That's just, I don't know. I just thought about that. And I don't think everybody has that same level. So I think your level of, I think it will vary based upon your level of curiosity. What you think, Nikki?
Would you say that stimulus is like which came first, the chicken or the egg? So
Mm.
in regards to like developing
Chicken came
intelligence,
first.
huh?
Chicken came
Chicken
first.
came first. I don't know. Did the chicken come first or the egg come first?
Who raised the chicken if it wasn't no, I mean,
Did the
who
chicken
raised
have to
the
be
egg?
raised? Just had to have an egg. Just had to be a cluck down there somewhere. I don't know.
Where the egg
Something
come
had to get
from?
born first.
Where the egg come from?
I don't know where the chicken come from.
I don't know, but it make
So,
God.
or did it? I don't know. You
But
know.
it's because then there's so much like you have to, so that, so then I would be like, think about this. Forget about the chicken and egg. Did the adult or the baby come first?
Then there's that too.
You'd have to assume it started off as an adult, because like what baby can raise itself to adulthood?
True.
That's a good question. Yeah.
True. But I don't know. Did it have to be raised or did it just have to be there? It's just a chicken. It's only a chicken.
Just
She's not.
you
It's just
tell me a
a
baby
chicken.
that you know that from a newborn, they're gonna find their own milk, they're gonna be able to feed themselves, they're gonna be able to look out for all of the potholes, clothe
I'm with
themselves
you.
when it's dark, know how they,
I'm there with
that
you.
doesn't make,
I'm there with you. I'm
see,
there with
now that
you.
goes to my
I'm
God
there with
argument. There has to
you.
be a divine,
I'm with you. But you know,
they
I
got,
have never answered the question either. Like I have never answered is there a chicken. But the only reason I use the chicken or the egg reference is because there's the question of would stimulus be required for curiosity? Is
what do you mean
curiosity
what do you
is
mean by stimulus?
stimulus to things. So not just having an intrigue or an interest in XYZ, like, do you have to be exposed to, do you have to have stimulus externally from whatever source to develop this curiosity or this desire to seek more? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're just in a black box all day, every day, with no outside stimulus, is your intelligence stunted? Or if you had outside stimulus on a regular basis, does that grow your curiosity? Because now you're exposed to so many different
I
things.
think it starts with the curiosity of the person. So you could be in this encapsulated circle of people, but your questions will lead you outside of that. Your curiosity will lead you outside of that. Whereas some people, you know, I don't know, hippie, somebody like that, you could be exposed to everything, but you don't have a desire to ask questions. What's the meaning of life? Life is life. Well, it is what it is. And, you know, some people just like that. It is what it is. Who cares?
I have a Q question.
Okay.
I think we should all define intelligence.
Okay.
Dang, that's a good one.
And I don't know how to define that, because I wouldn't give intelligence like you make A's and B's, and I wouldn't say that.
But I've got you on emotional intelligence. I got you there.
You know, I wouldn't say.
Let's see.
I feel like intelligence encompasses a lot of things that we don't really talk about on a day-to-day basis.
I think the first word that sticks out to me is perception. Being able to look at a thing, and I know Smack like to talk about we just looking at different parts of the elephant.
Mm-hmm.
So intelligence is your ability to look at various parts of the elephant at the same time, instead of you standing there at the front of the elephant and you just looking straight ahead.
And that's all there is to it. It's just this piece right here.
Okay, what it look like from the side? What it look like from the back? If I'm overhead, what it look like? What? So that, I think intelligent. I'm still kind of, I guess I'm going back to the curiosity thing. Like, what does this look like from this angle? And then versus when you take the accumulation of all the angles, then you can explain or project a more accurate picture. And I'm still on the elephant, but I'm using that in just anything that you're talking about in life, religion, relationships. How many angles, like, where does your mind guide you into looking at this from so many different angles to you can paint a more 3D picture versus just a two-dimensional thing. You know what I'm saying? That is
so how well,
I guess it's a base way that I say again, Denise.
So how well-rounded you are goes into intelligence for you in terms of your definition, you would say.
Yeah, the ability to see things from multiple angles, but also the ability to produce questions where questions are not asked.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
And to formulate it don't even have to be correct answers. But based upon the information that you have, how do you formulate answers or opinions or thoughts, or how does, that kind of moves into wisdom. But like with that, how are you able to go ahead, Denise? That's a good question.
So I feel like there's a lot of overlap, right? So because you're talking about wisdom, you're talking about intelligence. Can you be intelligent and not have common sense?
I don't think so. Because like you said, I'm like you. I don't look at intelligence as you make straight A's and stuff. That don't mean you're intelligent. So you could be book smart all day, but that don't equal intelligence. Mm-hmm. And now common sense, that's something that I would lean more towards intelligence versus, because common sense, I guess in the way that we typically use it, it's not something that's written out for you.
That's the definition of common sense. Like it ain't written out.
Right. And you take the, you take the sum of your experiences, or you're able to project a step ahead or two and be like, That ain't a good idea. I mean, so
Can intelligence be learned?
Yes,
I
I
think
think
I
so.
think so.
Me too.
I think you can train your mind to. I don't. Okay, let me say it like this.
Reading
You ask
grows
the
your
best
intelligence
questions.
level.
Go ahead.
Reading grows your intelligence level. Being
Right.
around people smarter than you grows
Right.
your intelligence level. So I think that intelligence can definitely be acquired. I I don't want to necessarily read like the textbook definition of intelligence, but I think that the definition of intelligence is, it feels like to me what you just explained, Q, says the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills. That's the definition of intelligence. So the ability to acquire knowledge and skill, like, that's definitely experiential based. It's something that you can acquire. It's something that you can obtain.
And
I
see, okay, I'm looking at it kind of the same way, but a little bit differently. I think that intelligence. I think you can equip yourself with tools that will build your intelligence. It's
Mhm.
like I'm almost saying the same thing, but not exactly. Just saying you can. What was your question, Denise? Can you learn intelligence or acquire,
Yeah.
like? Yeah, I think you can equip yourself with tools that will lead you on the pathway to increasing your intelligence. It's like almost the same thing, but I don't attribute it directly to intelligence. I attribute it to how you equip yourself, like the practices and habits. There's certain things that you can build, positive forming habits that can help build intelligence.
Yeah, because I think it can be nurtured. I feel like depending on what environment you're in, it can be nurtured.
Mhm.
Goes back to that. I forgot the person's name because they've been posing some really interesting questions in free thinkers. But it goes back to what they were asking, which is like, do we all have the ability? It's just that we don't have the tools. Basically, is like what he's saying, you need the tools. And I think that a lot of people just don't. They're not maybe in a situation where they're given the tools or have the tools or presented with alternative tools that would work for them. You know
I
what I
think
mean?
environmental factors play a huge part in a person's learning ability and intelligence level and exposure
When
to
it,
stimulus.
I disagree when it comes to intelligence.
Why?
I don't think that your surroundings, or I don't think if it's innately in you, I don't think there's anything that will withhold or stunt that. Like I
But if
said,
you
like
don't have, but if you're lacking the stimuli, though, there's nothing to tap into that
that's what I started off with.
receiver.
Curiosity. That's why I started off with it. Is that and that's something I don't think is something that's acquired. I think that may be a God-given thing. I think it can be suppressed. Curiosity can be suppressed. A lot of children that I know, when you parents tell them to shut up, don't ask no questions, and because I said so,
Hmm.
those are things that stunt curiosity or suppress curiosity. So I think it can be suppressed, but I don't think that it. I don't think that there's any outer forces that can prevent it. I don't. It's one of those things to where, like, a lot of, say I would be a great businessman or inventor or something, or golfer, but it takes money and it takes patents, and it takes a lot of things that I don't have the resources to acquire, that kind of prevents me from getting to certain levels, maybe in a business level, or but when it comes to just intelligence, I think you have all the tools you need, and it just starts with your mind and your curiosity. I think you have all of the building blocks that you need to be as intelligent as you're designed to be.
I disagree.
Okay.
To a degree, I disagree. Just because, like, when I when we're talking about like a perfect world where like all of us can exist, and what I mean by that is, like, for example, if I think about, again, going back to a person who has a disability, right? The world that we live in is not necessarily that this person has a disability, as so much the world was not built for people like them. So if the world was built with all like disabilities and or differently able bodies in mind, then we wouldn't have stairs probably. You know what I mean? Or like we would have braille everywhere. We would probably have larger text in different places. We would have more sound for people who can't see at all. Like there would just be, we don't build the world for everyone. We build the world for the majority. So I think when it comes to intellect, it can be the same way. I think there are a lot of people who may have what they call learning disabilities that aren't necessarily like learning disabilities as so much it is just like education was not built around people who learn that way, and I think some of it is just like a lot of it is environment.
Yeah, if you don't have access to certain stimuli, there's just going to be parts of the brain that are not going to flourish in developmental stages where that generally may take place at. And so you have like stunted growth, per se, right? But like that's a good analogy that you used, Denise, about like we would have more ramps, less stairs. So it's like education, knowledge, intellect, information is given to those that are able-bodied, you could say, right? Able-minded, able-bodied, able exposured, able privileged, able whatever you want to call it. And the lack thereof, you would imagine, is stunting one's growth or stunting one's ability to grow in intellect because they can't even touch it, taste it, smell it, see it, hold it, breathe it. They don't even know it exists.
That part. That's a whole thing in itself.
Is that the same thing? Is that the same thing? Like, but I definitely believe that it can grow. I believe that I know I am definitely a different learner today than I was 5 years ago and 10 years ago and 20 years ago. Like, and it's not even about smart versus not smart. Like it's intellect versus intellect and knowledge versus knowledge. And I think that
it reminds me of a
grow.
puzzle a little bit because information is just information. And I know a whole lot of people who read a bunch of information and don't know what to do with it. I mean, it don't make you intelligent.
But it's in there though. We don't know that. Maybe their tools are doing something differently with it.
Okay. Well, my man, I tell them.
I'm just saying. I don't know. Maybe they're storing up the information.
It just reminds me of a puzzle, like information, like somebody has or receives information, and you know where and how to properly fit or place that information in the right space for it to be productive. That's intelligence to me. It's almost like a puzzle piece. It's a bunch of pieces. This is all information. But those that are intelligent, they know how and where to place the pieces so that it fits at the right time in the right space. So that's why intelligent speaking people, they know when to talk, they know when to listen, they know when to shut up, they know when to ask a question, they know when to make an observation. They're pieces of information, but they know how to place them in the right spots.
You don't think that knowing when to save pieces that you don't know where their place is yet until you realize where their place is best served at is intelligence?
That is a part too.
Because that's a lot of discipline and patience, storing things until you figure out where they're supposed to go. Because once you figure out where they're supposed to go, then you talk about a puzzle piece.
And there's a lot of pieces that I have, and I don't yet know where to place them. So I put them on reserve until. Yeah. But that's a part of intelligence too. You got a lot of people, and they just flipping their pieces all over the place.
So you don't just have to know where to put them every single time. Sometimes you have to store that stuff too.
That's part of intelligence. Timing.
What about this though? But I think that is I still think that's kind of more opinion based, is back, right? Because how do you put a puzzle together? You gotta put the wrong pieces down.
Hold on. Time out, Denise.
Then there's that too.
Hold on.
This don't fit.
Hold on. Do you feel that, because I'm listening to your statement, are you saying that intelligence is more fact-based than feeling-based?
Okay, hold on. Let me marinate on that. Is it more fact-based than feeling-based?
Ask everybody that question. That's a good question.
this is everybody. Y'all jump in. We just
What type
talking.
of intelligence are you talking about? I mean, emotional intelligence is feeling based.
I didn't say
But is
emotional
that?
intelligence.
What type of intelligence you talking about, though? Intellectual intelligence?
When the word intelligence is used, how if someone just casually used the word intelligence, how would you receive it based on how the average person views intelligence? I don't know if that makes sense to you, but
it makes sense, but I still think it would be context. If it's just with no context, then I would think intelligence as in capacity to gather data and create
not emotional intelligence, because then
it.
you turn my whole question upside down because you can already get the answer into the question. I'm just talking about basic intelligence. And thank you for that. Because the fact that there is a thing called emotional intelligence, it also eludes that regular intelligence is absent of emotion, dare I say.
There was a video article I just saw within the last month or so on LinkedIn where they were discussing the fact that people with a higher emotional intelligence will actually go further in business than people with an intellectual intelligence that supersedes theirs, because they can put the people skills together and they make the friends and they calm the all of the things, and they actually go further the higher the emotional intelligence versus the intellectual intelligence is.
Well, let me ask this, because I actually have a book and I didn't finish reading it about emotional intelligence, but it was what I've read so far is very good. Is emotional intelligence a real thing? And what I mean by that is, are we using it to separate it from intelligence?
Yes.
In general. But what I'm asking is, should emotional intelligence, should it have always been integrated in the word intelligence to where there doesn't have to be a separate label for it? Intelligence should include the emotional aspect of it, which goes back to what I was asking.
No, I know some brilliant people who have book smarts and street smarts who can't pinpoint what their emotion is. And I've got more than one ex who told me after we ended things that one of the things that they gained from our time together was an increase in emotional intelligence, the understanding of empathy, of what the emotion is that someone is feeling, that you are feeling, and being able to sit in that long enough to say, okay, this is how it's making me feel. I can understand why this maybe this particular thing that just happened to me isn't really the strong trigger for this intense emotion that I'm feeling, but there are these other things that happened previously that did leave emotional markers that justify why I'm feeling this way, but also the person didn't do anything that horrible. I need to step back. Until somebody's able to pinpoint what the emotion is, they have a harder time controlling their emotions and therefore controlling their impulses and how they interact with other people.
So you don't have a problem calling a person or identifying a person as intelligent, even though they lack emotional skills?
Yeah.
See,
I don't have a problem.
I don't know if I would call a person intelligent.
I don't have a problem calling someone intelligent who lacks book smarts or street smarts. There's different types of intelligence.
Yeah.
So I know people growing up in southern Louisiana who you could be walking outside and they see something and be like, "Oh, it's getting ready to rain." And you're like, "What?" "Oh yeah, the little bird, the bugs on the water just did the thing, and the this, that, and the other." And you're like, "Huh?" They have a natural intelligence of their surroundings. There's people who have abilities to mechanically put things together, but couldn't do the 2 + 2 math if you asked them to write it out. There's many different types of intelligence.
And I may have been like that at one point in time, but I think how I am now, I probably, like back in the day, I might have called or referred to someone as being very intelligent, even without them having the proper emotional makeup. And now I probably wouldn't use that terminology. Denise, let me come back to you.
Mm-hmm.
What was my question? What was the question? Is intelligence more fact or more feeling, or like, do you, and dang, I don't even know how I'm asking the question now again. Like, when you view intelligence, do you view the emotional side of it, or do you only view it based off of fact, how you determine if someone's intelligent?
I would have to say that I can't go fact based on it. I feel like there are elements to like being intelligent that include like being intuitive. Like that's a piece of it, which is kind of like you
Right.
can't even really put your finger on that.
You can't prove it sometimes either.
Huh?
And you can't prove it sometimes, but it's just is. It's just there.
Yeah. It's like I feel like intelligence encompasses so many things. To be able, like you said, to be able to put these pieces together, there's so many other elements to you that you have to have that make you able to do that.
And
Curiosity.
see, the
part.
reason I asked you that is because, like, when you start responding to me, you was like, all right, well, that seems like more feeling than fact. And I was like, okay, so what's wrong with that?
What were we discussing though exactly when I said that?
I don't know. I forgot. I had to go back and watch.
Yeah, we have to go back.
Being emotionally intelligent or not being emotionally intelligent.
No, before we got to that part, I was saying something, and then Denise was like, well, that seems like more feeling than fact.
Acquiring more knowledge? Was it
I think I said
acquiring of the knowledge?
I think it's an opinion.
Okay.
Probably.
It could have been. Yeah.
Yeah. Opinion.
I don't know. Okay. Is we done with that, or we still talking?
Well, Stokely hasn't chimed in quite yet. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are.
What you thinking, Stokely?
Jules brought up a good point. I mean, emotionally, I feel like people's intelligence when they're emotional about things, or let me back up. I'm sorry. Emotional intelligence, like, and I can only use myself as the example, is I tend to put myself in other people's shoes with empathy. I can empathize with someone. So therefore, I can speak from whether it be my feelings, what I've been through, what I've seen someone go through. And it's heartfelt. Like I've said this in, time and time again. I mean, I'll fight for anybody. Yeah, I'm not gay, but I'll fight for you. I'm not, Jewish, but I'll fight for you. And it's the emotions, the emotional intelligence. And I'm not, I read a lot, but to be just, I guess, fact-based intelligent, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, like you said, anybody can read a book. I grew up, my parents this was before the internet. My parents grew up, we had the encyclopedia.
Lived off encyclopedias.
Yep. We did too.
I sit there and read encyclopedias all day. Just grab one and just
we did too.
We had friends and neighbors that didn't have access to unless they came to our house. So I would think that, okay, and this may sound crazy, I was more intelligent than them because I had Encyclopedia Britannica in my house. I could lay in my bed and read this shit. That's and that's not necessarily the case. I mean, there was a kid named Jeremy Kling. I'm outing him. Dude was brilliant. They didn't have Encyclopedia Britannica, but he knew shit that I didn't know, and I was like, well, damn, So
how'd you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's. I think intelligence is sometimes lived experiences, what you've seen, what you've gone through, how you felt about certain things. So Q brought up a good point. Do we separate emotional intelligence from just intelligence, or should emotional intelligence fall within the realm of just intelligence? I think there is a difference, though. I mean, I think you have to draw a line in there and say, that's just my take on all this emotional intelligence stuff.
But would that mean, though, then if somebody was, let's say somebody is what we would describe as, intellectually, do we kick off? Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead, say
okay, there we go. Okay,
Yeah.
so do we say then if somebody is For all intents and purposes, we say that they're intelligent, but they lack emotional intelligence.
Elon Musk?
Does that then make them not wholly intelligent if they lack
No.
emotional intelligence?
No.
Like, should
I would
one
say so.
should one be striving to seek emotional intelligence as a balance for like proper energy and pathway of life? Like, wouldn't
Okay.
that make you most
I would-
intelligent?
I would say yes, and this is why I say why. So for me, intelligence is not just about how much you know or how much you can explain or how much knowledge you have inside of you, whatever. How well you can speak, how well you can articulate, all of those things. It's not it's that information. Well, when I talk about knowing how to place it in certain spots or whatever, it's also about how you use that information in regards to society,
Right.
and how you interact with people.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have all of this information, but you don't know how to use it to run a business, to work on people skills, to build your relationships, to be a better father, to all of these different things, because there's interaction. So even with communication, I say it like this, and that's kind of one of the things that one of my observations from last week as we were on there. It don't matter how much you know. You are, if you're trying to communicate with another person, you do have an obligation to speak in a way that it can be conveyed and received. It ain't just about, well, it's the truth. Either you take it or not. That's not communication.
Okay. I got a few different things going on with this. First of all, I think that we're confusing data and information. Data is just facts. Data points are little factoids. They may not even be related. Data is the collection of all of that. Information is putting it in an organized way, right? Knowledge that you got out of encyclopedia. Huh? That's the definitions of the words. Yes. That's the definitions. Data is just a collection of facts. Information comes from taking all of that and organizing it in a way that it is utilizable. So regardless of whether you have an entire set of encyclopedias at your house or not, if they're just sitting there, there's just data on a shelf. You take it, you read it, you put it into context, it becomes knowledge and information that you can then retain. I think that to say that somebody has to have all of these different types of intelligence to be considered truly intelligent is negating huge swaths of our population. Culturally, there are cultures who act very differently with emotional intelligence, don't find importance in it. In addition to that, there's a lot of people now, especially who are on the spectrum. And so any sort of emotional connectivity is something that they are lacking physically, or however that those people on the spectrum, however that manifested in them. There's entire sections of our population that aren't going to reach a point of emotional intelligence, but that doesn't mean that they couldn't sit down and draw out how to build a rocket. They may not be able to tell you in a way that you can understand it, but that doesn't take away their level of intelligence because somebody else can't comprehend the brilliance that they're
and
sharing.
I'm saying, knowing how to build a rocket, that wouldn't automatically have, for me, that wouldn't automatically have me say that you're intelligent.
Okay, please expand on that. Please.
That's what I've been doing. I don't know if you've been paying attention.
I don't get that. So because they can't explain it in a way you get it.
I'm saying the way I view intelligence, just because you know how to build a rocket or whatever, okay, you smart. I don't consider that necessarily intelligence. Now you might be, but I don't automatically say, oh, rocket scientist, he's very intelligent. That goes back to the book smart thing. No. I look at it like I said. It's information, it's pieces, and how do you know what to do and where to put those pieces and when to put them. And that also goes back to, you can have all the information in the world. If you don't know how to deal with people, I wouldn't call you intelligent. That's a part of intelligence to me. Not only knowing something, but knowing how to convey it in a way that people next to you can grasp and say, oh, okay, I didn't think of it that way.
So if somebody's intelligent enough to build their own rocket out of stuff that they find at the junkyard and include a rover and everything they need to terraform Mars and take off and go live on Mars and come back with proof of it because they didn't explain to you how it was done, they're not intelligent? I'm
I
like,
didn't say they wouldn't. I said I wouldn't necessarily call them intelligent. That would not be my measuring stick to say, oh, they definitely intelligent.
Because for you, intelligence is more than just what you can do, what
Correct.
you know, what information you've retained. Like there's more to intelligence
What
than just that.
information? How do you apply that information?
Sure.
How do you convey it? How do you spread it? There's a lot of, for me, there's a lot of things that go into
your
it.
intelligence.
And there's a lot of nonverbal ways to communicate. I think it's important to mention that too, you know. So just because somebody may not audibly be able to or cognitively be able to,
Right.
in the same way that like Denise said in the beginning, the majority versus the minority of people, doesn't mean that it can't be conveyed in other ways. I don't think that that's necessarily what's being said, that they lack the intelligence, but I feel like intelligence is like not just one piece. It's like the whole unit. Like I get it. Like I totally understand what Jules was saying when you think in aspects of, you know, people that are on the spectrum, and just, you know, Denise initially talking about, you know, people that have maybe had, you know, lack of oxygen to the brain at, you know, development, and certainly just things changing because of things like that. I mean, and this might be I don't know, this might be an ignorant thing to say. I don't think that it is, but it could be. So just waver. I think that most people who do have a brain injury or have something different about their brain and their chemistry generally do have a different way of expressing things and understanding things, and their tools are different. I don't know, does that even make them possibly even more emotionally intelligent, because they're tapping into something that us regular folks are not tapping into for one reason or another? I don't know, does that make them more intelligent than those of us who maybe don't have those issues presenting, you know, that the majority don't have versus the minority? And I'm just playing devil's advocate, thinking of some different scenarios, because I think that most people who have autism or cerebral palsy, or, you know, just different types of you know, neurological conditions, are brilliant in ways I couldn't even touch. I could never play an instrument like that. I could never paint like that. I could never, you know, do certain things that you see them do in ways that I would think I'm kind of smart, but shit, they got me beat. So I think that emotional intelligence has to be separate from just straight up, by definition, intelligence. But I do think that intelligence can be grown and gained as time goes on, and our experiences to things and stimulus are also introduced into our life.
and I think when you start talking about the spectrum, especially anybody that doesn't have the innate, doesn't connect emotionally the same as someone without any issue with it, I think that the emotional awareness, they grow in emotional intelligence because they have to become aware in order to get along in society. Because, like Denise said, it's not built for the you know, it's built for the standard. And so if you're an outlier to that, you've got to figure out how to work within the system.
Mm-hmm.
So they gain an emotional awareness first. And I think that over time, as they integrate more with society, it can become a deep-seated emotional intelligence. But I still think that they're able to recognize it maybe in other people, but have a harder time recognizing it within themselves. I think that whatever those connections are in the body and the brain that are different, just are different. And so the ways that are connecting are not the same. So by our standards, I would not say that a lot of, you know, they're not born, a lot of them emotionally intelligent, depending on what the issue is. But that doesn't mean that they can't become or don't become emotionally aware and emotionally intelligent to a large extent.
And everybody ain't intelligent. It's okay. And everybody ain't gonna be.
Look, whoever wrote that damn quote wasn't, because they put there THERE. That shit was killing me. When you were reading it, I was like, it's not how you spell that word. How are you going to sit here and tell
Listen,
somebody's intelligence and you ain't even spelling with the right use of the word there?
no, listen, my grammar is horrible. Shout out to everybody out there with horrible grammar and intellect. Because I don't know where to put a damn comma.
That's all right.
But see, you are intelligent, Denise. You're intelligent because you found a way through your life to get through. And people still know what the hell you're talking about.
And see, that's my whole thing. At this point in my life, I don't care if you make up a word. You can make up a Don King word.
I will make up a
in
word
the context of the sentence of you saying, if I understand what you're saying, that's all that matters.
Exactly.
They're like,
I'm good.
I
I'm
did
good
something
then.
the other.
I'm
what
good.
I say is, I said something yesterday. I said it's evolving or devolve. I don't know if devolving is a word, but as long as you know what I'm saying, then
Sounds good to me.
that's all that matters.
Right.
That's funny.
Because this is my thing. Even on top of that, words themselves are, and this is the artist part of me talk. Words are a way to attempt to convey a thought.
Right.
And just about every artist will tell you they're always longing to make that perfect piece to where their words are actually matching up with what's inside of them.
Mm-hmm.
And you never fully perfect it, but that's the attempt. So, it and some people, words make it words are worth the energy that you put behind them.
Ooh.
So just like you can, I could say something that could be considered derogatory, but I can also say it to someone else. Depending on the energy that you put behind it, makes the difference on the actual meaning of the word. Because it's not about the word itself; it's the meaning behind it.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thought.
Mm-hmm.
That's my
Mm-hmm.
evolution of thought.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what's funny? Going back to intelligence, this was because I lost my thought. Now it made so one of the things, like even Denise do this a lot of time. Somebody asks a question, and then my thought would be like, "Where did you get that question? What made you think of that question?" So what I'm really saying is, how did you? I want to hear your process and how you formulated that thought to ask the question. Because what I'm intrigued by, that's an intelligent to come up with that. If you came up with that question yourself, only an intelligent mind would think of that. And I want to know the process of what built you, what were the pieces that came together to say this and this and this and this and this. And okay, I got a question. And it's like, ooh, where did that come? So those are other ways that I look and I identify intelligence.
I like it. I like
We
it.
about an hour. We done with that? Or
I saw that too, and I read the replies, and I was like, I gotta think on this one. So I'm glad that's one of the ones that you mentioned tonight. Yeah. What else you got? Because I'm kicked off the internet right now, so you're gonna have to keep rolling with it.
Nikki.
It's always no, I'm not kicked off like Facebook jail. I just my Wi-Fi signal's crappy in my room right now, so my laptop's being kicked off. It's
a damn shame. Yeah. That's so frequent. As the first thought everybody had was Nikki.
I'm trying to stay out. I just said all I was going to say. That's why when Q started asking you about Kyrie and Kanye, I'm like, why are you putting this quarter in here? Why are you doing it?
You usually in a safe space on video, right? You just don't print it out.
Right.
Not in text form. All right, This is a change gears. This quick question right here. Should you, somebody divorced, should you be obligated to give lifetime financial support for an ex? Yes, no, if so, under what circumstances? Tell us, what's your opinions on that?
Yeah, I think we got to unpack how long have you been together? What was the agreement when you got together? Was the agreement that you don't work and you take care of the family? And now I don't have a career, so I can't just go out and go get a job that's going to have me in a certain space? Like, what was the agreement? Did you just pop up 2 years ago? If so, girl, you got to get the fuck out of here with that. You know what I mean? Like, depending on the context and how much time was spent together and what was established, was I with you shooting in the gym? Like, there's so many things that got to be discussed. And yeah, like in some cases, definitely like lifetime, you got to go ahead and pay that up.
Absolutely. I think in some conditions, absolutely.
And
Go
in
ahead,
other
Sophie.
cases,
Say
you're
what?
Go
dead
ahead,
wrong.
Sophie.
Come again? You say lifetime?
He said, what?
Lifetime?
What?
Yeah, I didn't hear you right. You said
Nah,
lifetime?
Denise said exactly what she said, and she said it with a chest. Because you think about it, most women, especially if you marry in your 20s and you start having children, and in this particular situation, you've got Exhibit, who's had a music career for the last 2 decades minimum. If she stood by and she raised the family and raised the business and kept him straight, and she was the CFO and the CEO of all of these spaces for him to be able to do what he does,
But not every
you
wife is that way. That's what I'm saying.
say that again.
Not every
No.
wife is.
No, so I'm
Not
just
every
saying
wife.
in this particular case, as to what Denise said, there's gotta be some parameters involved. So if you spent the last
Okay.
20 years raising him and the family, and you forsake your goals because this is what you agreed to do for
Right.
him and for y'all's family, then at some point, damn,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So
Now,
one of those
does that mean
parameters
take
too.
it to the bank? No, but shit, I helped us and you get to where you are. So
I'm with
if
that.
you can't repay me on GP, well then let's go to court, I guess.
So I
Right.
think number one, basic needs should be met. I
Right,
don't
right.
believe that means you get to live the same lifestyle as me, and I'm dishing out 30,000 a month to keep up with your
But
custom
why?
lifestyle.
My choosing to put you first made me not be able to collect a dime.
I don't have a reason for that, but I'm just telling
Well,
you, I don't believe
so,
that you're gonna break somebody. Mm-mm.
and I don't
And
believe
and
in
that,
breaking somebody. I don't believe that either. That's not right.
and now my other parameter is who divorcing who. Because if she divorcing him, and I ain't saying that is, I'm just saying in the case where she divorcing him, and it was just like on some irreconcilable differences type stuff. Oh well, look, you left the money pot. What you gonna do?
No, because I'm not required to put up with your bullshit and abuse and toxic
I
shit and
I didn't say
disrespect. And
abuse. No, I didn't
I'm
say
saying if
abuse. I
that's
didn't
why
say
she's
people just
leaving
cheating. I
him,
people
said
just
just irreconcilable
yeah,
differences.
people just grow
Then
apart at some point, and maybe
yeah,
that's the
okay. Well,
case.
then you
And she
growing apart.
decides
You
to
leave this house. You leaving this money too.
exactly, and that's exactly. And everybody,
Listen.
there's a lot of people hiring right now. So I'm not trying to hear,
But
that
yeah,
there's a
but
lot of
you need
people
whoever the
these
hiring.
spouse
you need these
is,
6 bands a month from me.
but whoever the spouse is that stayed and raised the family and stayed and kept the household going and took care of the more domestic things and didn't pursue an education further and didn't pursue a career further and is behind now in the workforce. Doesn't matter how many people are hiring if you can't get hired, if you don't
Hey,
have the skill sets and the experience, because the experience goes a long way.
They were a team
everything
until they
ain't fair in
weren't.
life, Jules. Now, what I'm gonna say, the first thing I'm gonna say is, especially if they're in California, everything getting divvied up halfway down the middle in the first place.
Depends on the reason for the divorce.
Okay, but just
Texas,
say
they told me that was going to happen too until I proved he was cheating.
and see, y'all
Oh,
keep bringing in stuff that I've already excluded. I said outside of him beating the cheating, I just said irreconcilable differences. Don't want to add extra stuff because that's a whole different story. They already split stuff up halfway. Now you got your chunk. You can start your own business. You can save it up in bonds. You can do whatever you want to. You can give yourself an allowance, allocate it over a course of time, like regular people do with their retirement savings. So all of this, you gotta break me off for the rest of my life. You got broke off when we got divorced.
Q,
Go
Q,
ahead.
not necessarily, because if you look at the stuff with 50 cents, people know how to hide their money or keep their money in this business
Mhm.
and not, you know what I mean? So you
Okay.
can get half or whatever, and it's not necessarily uh like you may not be liquid. You know what I mean?
I'm
So it's
saying we should go back and do like they do
Some of
fathers
them,
when they take them to child support court. We finna go back for this back pay. I want to go back to back pay. When we got married, I want you to value what you think my worth was in this marriage for this family, for our empire that we grew together, that you might not have been able to do without me taking care of home. I want to know what you but you quantify that as a dollar amount. And I'm not saying break a man. And I'm not even saying that this is some fly ass shit to do, but I'm saying how dare somebody say that it's not worth X, Y, and Z when you don't even know if you'd be where you are if it wasn't without me being able to do X, Y, and Z.
All of that is true.
There's that.
You are getting a divorce. If you're breaking off from them, then break off from them. Don't break off from them and then still got one hand out for the rest of your life. Break. Split up the money, break. You go your way, I go my way. We be done with each other. I'm kind of weird on all this stuff. Like we broke off and we done, but I'm still gonna eat off you for the rest of your life. Well, then we ain't broke up then. You need to be giving me some ass too. I need to get some sex.
That's horrible. That's horrible.
Once a month, I need to be able to come in and get it. Mama, don't watch this. If I'm still breaking bread, then you gonna break your back or something else.
Not when the fruits of my labor is the reason why you can break that motherfucking bread. You finna pay me. You finna break me off. It needs to be
a mutual exchange of some. If it's gonna be a lifelong,
if we're leaving each other, something happened real unmutual to where we are no longer in love with each other.
What if it didn't? No. What if two people just grew apart and the person said, I ain't feeling this no more.
I don't necessarily believe that people really grow apart like that.
They do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Dude, that's gotta be all of the years that I've been coming to these meetings and engaging in conversation with you. That had to be one of the most chauvinistic things I've ever heard you fucking say.
Good. I'm glad. I don't want you to have too high of an expectation on me. I like to say gutter stuff every once in a while just to make sure that that expectation ain't out of control. Because I tell people, no matter what I say, I ain't no different than no other person who got jerkish tendencies. I want to make sure that that's yes. I want to make sure that people know that. So
he said, "I'm still
good. I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad with it. I do that on purpose, actually. But yeah,
not the rest of your life. I just can't see that. That's crazy.
Well, the perfect example was Dr. Dre and his ex-wife. Like she was after him for a lot of money, but she also gave up.
So he gave her that one lump.
2-3 decades.
But if he gave her $67 million or some crazy number, she good for the rest of her life. Move around.
I mean, we will be good. You be good. I be good.
She be good too. 167 million. 167 million. Everybody be good.
Still trying to pull that should be it. That should be good. You should. I mean, look. Let's go our separate ways. I'm rich. You rich. Now we are apart.
Okay, yeah, but no. Whoever's getting that little break off is rich, and y'all talking about these kind of astronomical, ridiculous amounts of money. The other person is wealthy. There's a big difference. Wealthy, you jump on a damn plane and you end up anywhere in the world at any time you want, flying first class, buying whatever you want, anywhere you go, taking your friends along, doing whatever the fuck you feel like doing, having houses all over the world and all of that nonsense. Rich
wasn't in the studio.
You can still, you're not gonna suffer for anything that you need. Your necessities are 1,000% covered, but all of those luxuries that you spent 20, 30 years, however many years, decades it's been that you were with that person in that lifestyle, because the lifestyle rises to meet income. Mess around and get a
lifestyle was a part of the mutual marriage.
She just going to dial it back.
When the marriage changed, then the lifestyle need to change. You see, we went to the deuces. We split ways.
True too. That's true too. There are
now you may not deserve a wealthy lifestyle, but you still deserve a rich lifestyle. If your partner is wealthy, you can deserve a rich lifestyle. How y'all trying to speak up for somebody who got 167 million?
Right.
She did not produce the Chronic.
Quentin, think about it like this. If I decided to stay at home,
did not produce the Chronic.
Y'all wrong. If I decide to stay at home so that you can go get great, right?
That part.
Right? Not only do I not have the experience that I would have had, I don't have the relationships. And let's be clear, a lot of it is based on relationships. So if I got my ass at home with your badass child, raising them, taking care of them, so you ain't got to worry about what's going on with them, so you can peacefully go to the studio and go make the Chronic 2000.
Peacefully.
So let's assume that the
that's
child is 20 years old at this point.
Yes.
I'm just giving you $167 million. If you're smart and you're able to get 7% on every $1 million, that's $70,000 a year extra to you that you're going to make for every $167 million.
But for people that live in mansions and do that 70,000 is nothing compared to their bills.
Right. I get what you're saying, Jules. 70,000 is nothing when you're sitting on 167 million. That's nothing. You're right.
You can live off the interest comfortably.
You could live off the interest, and look.
She already got the house. She ain't got to buy no house. She got the house. People
that own basketball teams, healthy basketball players are rich.
Right.
I get it. But if I put you in this situation of living this lifestyle and I give you $167 million, I'm sorry, and we're supposed to break, we break it. I don't see doing this for another 20 years until I die or you die or whoever dies. That's crazy.
Till death, baby.
that's when you got married.
You your ass here, you ain't divorcing then.
So I think the other part of it goes back to the liquidity issue, though. So if we say, hey, we're going to do the half or whatever, and whatever state we're in, the reasons behind it, and they say we're just, okay, the judge says 50-50 on everything, all assets. Well, a lot of those assets are probably tied up in whatever. And if you've ever dealt with a divorce or you've ever dealt with an inheritance, that doesn't play out as equal all the time, right? So because there are 7 different properties, right? And one of them is worth what the other 6 combined are worth. And you've got all of these things that become inequalities to be sorted out. So there may be times where it's actually equitable for the person who's paying out to do it as installments over time, rather than being forced to sell all their shit, liquidate, and divvy everything up, especially depending on markets and everything else, right? I don't agree with somebody getting to lay on somebody's leg for the rest of their life. I do believe that contributions that the other spouse, and I say other spouse because everybody keeps making it like the assumption is it's a woman. Men do that same shit too especially when you start having money.
Man,
right? So
we got Kevin Federline, the only champion we got. Now that's
right.
30 years.
The only
Kevin
one.
Federline.
You said who else?
The only one. Britney Spears.
Kelly Clarkson husband just got broke the fuck
Oh, he
off.
did too. He did.
Yeah, Kelly Clarkson had to break her. Didn't Adele have to break her husband off too?
Huge.
Yeah, Adele had to break her husband
And
off.
this is the
Good
other.
for them
And I don't
brothers
even
right
think
there.
they
Good for them brothers right there.
But this
no,
is the
geez,
other
it was just jokes.
No, for real though. This is for real joke though. But don't marry nobody in California if you rich. What's wrong with y'all?
Right.
That's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
Cause they getting half, and you is gonna be paying alimony for probably the rest of your life. Don't do California.
Damn.
Get married in Texas.
Bastrop,
Texas is
Texas.
a 50-50 community property state too. What you talking about?
Oh, Texas.
Texas is a 50-50 community property state. Unless you can prove
It ain't a forever alimony state.
Right.
Not forever alimony. No.
Well, that's what we're talking about right here. Getting broke off for the rest of your life.
You can do alimony if the circumstances are right, but it'll probably be more of a 10 to 20 year thing depending on circumstances.
Yeah.
Ooh, wait.
There's a part of that where that's fair. I mean, it really is.
Y'all trying to
I think
hurt
it's
me.
fair. If you're wealthy, it's fair for your ex to be rich.
I think that's fair. 167 million.
I think it's fair.
That's
I mean,
more than fair. You've got one child.
Y'all acting like, and then hold on. See, now let me really make y'all mad now, because y'all acting like watching kids in this huge mansion with 3 or 4 nannies and maids, and you ain't got to clean up and do nothing. And you got cooks and chefs and this and this, and that ain't the.
But what if
raising kids, but
what if those don't exist though? What if those don't exist? What if they don't exist?
And besides that, you know, she may not have been in the studio making the
Got a
chronic.
couple more million to it.
A little bit more.
Look, she may not have been in the studio making the chronic, but if you believe the hype, and she
couple more
was
dollars.
taking them fucking beatings that made him calm enough to do the chronic.
Mm.
I'm just saying, you can't put money on everything. Shit, everything ain't got a
Using
value.
basic stereotype. I didn't say. I said absent of beating and cheating.
Right,
Y'all keep throwing this. Why you keep
You
trying to
brought
throw
the
that in
chronic
there?
up.
He or she can still be a crummy
It's just a
ass partner.
hypothetical.
They can
We
still
really
be a
talking
very
about it.
crummy partner.
Yeah, it's hypothetical.
Yeah. But no, I don't think juicing somebody for the rest of your fucking life is the right way to go about it. I don't. I think that's wrong.
I
Because
think it's
that
right.
builds
If I was with
consternation.
you, go ahead, Sophie.
That just builds consternation, and I ain't saying he did it, but OJ's wife wanted to be kept like that. And what happened? Now I'm going. The reason I bring that up is because he was buying her cars, paying her mortgage, doing all these things, but they were divorced. They were literally divorced.
Yeah.
And keeping somebody in your life and someone becomes resentful.
Yep.
Keeping OJ in your life and he becomes resentful because now you're dating another man, taking another man out to dinner, all these other things, and your girlfriend hanging out with Faye Resnick and all this other stuff builds resentment. So take your 167 million and move around. That's all.
I'd much rather take my lump sum and have a funeral in my head and be done with your ass.
Hey.
Right.
And I'm sure that man would probably.
Sometimes I be thinking they do that stuff because they want to stay attached to that person
in some way.
And sometimes it ain't even so much about the money, but it's about I still want to have some type of certain attachment.
Yeah, got your hooks.
Or it could be just
somehow.
if it's someone famous. I mean, just being able to be in that circle of
celebrity.
Celebrity, yes. I just say sever the ties. Take this 167.
This little piece of change, this little chunk.
Yeah, take the change.
Business. We don't need to see each other at all. Kids is grown. We have no dealings with each other.
Well, honestly, when I saw that picture, and I don't know their whole history, but I honestly thought that like they separated a minute ago. Like I thought him and his ex were like old news type shit. Like, so to see this come back up again, I didn't look into any of it, but I was like, what's she doing? Like, oh man,
trying to get 167 million.
Trying to get that 167.
So even I responded onto that. I think I did. But a lot of this has to do with people's lawyers, and the lawyer job is to go milk this person for whatever, every cent that they can. My question is, if you have a lawyer, you going just hypothetically, you going through a situation like that, and the lawyer doing their job, but they going too far. Do you as a person step in and be like, no, we don't need to do that. No, we don't need to go that route. No, this is too far. Or do you just allow the lawyer to go as far as they can go, even, unfairly doing things that they probably, that you yourself wouldn't do, but since you already sicked them on them, you just let them have it. Like, how would you respond if your lawyer going too far with it, even if it's to your benefit?
There was stuff that my attorney recommended that we go forward with that I said absolutely not to. There were things that I could have had my ex-husband thrown in jail for, and I did not do it. He wanted, like my attorney, when everything got laid out on the table, there were things that I could have had my ex thrown in jail for, and I refused to do that. No matter how heartbroken I was, no matter how wrong what he did to me was, all of the everything, that was beyond what I was willing to do. But then it got uglier because he kept trying to delay the proceedings, and then he kept trying to get the 50-50 split that he thought he was going to get in the state of Texas. So when we went into the courtroom and there was a TV and a VCR and a DVD player, everybody was waiting with bated breath to see what kind of evidence I had. And he kept trying to make a settlement that was not fair. And I just kept saying no. And at one point, my attorney was like, okay, that's a good settlement. I'm like, nope, he fucked somebody else. Not a good settlement. Try again. I refused to put him in jail. I refused to go to certain extents. I gave in on certain things just because to me it was the right thing to do. But also, I spent 12 years with you. I moved 500 miles away from everything I knew for you. Fuck you. You won't pay me. So,
yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't feel like I don't feel as I'm sorry, I don't feel as though, you know, it's not in me to drag somebody for the next 20 years, just drag them through the mud and take everything, trying to get everything. So I would definitely be the one to tell the attorney, look, let's just finish up what we need to finish up. Go on and give me this 167 million if I'm one, and let me just do my thing. I'm done. When I say I'm done, y'all better understand me.
Yeah.
I love them and leave them fast. So.
Yeah, I'm just not going to waste that energy. I'm not. Yeah. I'm not. And because I feel like that's how I operate with every person who comes into my life, whether it's a good or bad experience, I'm gonna be okay later. That's all right. You may have more money. You may look like you're coming out on top. You might look like you're winning. You might look like you got it all together. I might look like I'm over here fucked up, hunched over, and broke and busted and disgusted. But I guarantee motherfucking to you, I'm gonna be all right. And you're gonna lose that money somewhere. You're gonna get burned somewhere. And I don't wish that upon anybody, but I don't wish that upon nobody, but that's how that works. If you do dirt, you gotta expect dirt's gonna come back. If you do unrighteous shit, if you do bitter shit, if you do vile shit, if you do vindictive shit, it's gonna come back. So I'll let you just hang your own motherfucking self and keep it moving. I'm gonna get mine to a certain extent, but I'm not in the interest of trying to cause injury. Fuck it. I'll be all right.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a good way to put it.
We weren't married, but I think we had been together long enough for like common law shit to where I could like whole think about the shit. And I was just like, you know what, bro? I just don't want to have any. I just want to move on.
Yeah, I want it to be done.
Actually move on. Like it's
right.
You're gonna leave me ass out. I'm built different, so I'm gonna go get it out the mud anyway.
Right.
But, you know what I mean? But I couldn't imagine how it would feel if I had children with him and I helped build up wealth with him. I don't know how I would feel about that conversation.
Right.
That might be a different conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
It is. And that's where you got to start looking at the contributions again, because I was the one with the perfect credit. And I was the one that had the better paying job in New Orleans and was able to put the house there in my name solely. And then when we moved here, his pay was a little bit higher than what mine in New Orleans was for about 6 months until he got demoted. And his credit was horrendous. But as soon as we got married, I was like, oh, well, you're my husband now. I'm going to go ahead and put you on all my credit cards. And he fucked my entire credit score up. And he put us in ridiculous amounts of debt. And so when it was all said and done, I said, no, you taking all that debt. I'm keeping the house. I'm keeping all the furniture that's mine. I'm keeping all of everything. And I loaded my entire garage, front to back, top to bottom, inventory boxed neatly, didn't break a damn thing, and gave him all his shit and just wanted to be done. Just wanted it over with. But my mama also taught me, whatever you put out into this world good, you get back at least threefold, and whatever you put out negative, come back to you tenfold. So I'm not looking to put that kind of juju out there.
Let alone be emotionally
tear his shit up. I'm like, no, it ain't.
And then to be emotionally tied into that for the next however long court drags out for the next bullshit. Like, oh my God, no.
Every time we go to court and they would tell me he filed for another delay, girl, I was dying because my vows meant something to me. So I didn't start dating until the day after I had them papers, which should have only been 6 months. But because of his funky ass, it was a year and a half. I stayed alone for a year and a half while he was fucking the woman he cheated on me with, because my vows meant something to me.
Oh, wait.
When you say you done, we split then.
What I am, you know when I'm done.
Single.
He said, when I'm done, I'm done.
The moment you say we're done, I'm single.
I'm on the phone making plans.
She said, I'm on the phone making plans.
Had it not been a marriage, any other relationship, long term or otherwise, that's my look. Okay, cool. See you. And I'll be picking up that phone. But in a marriage, that was a different thing to me. I only expected to do that once, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is weird, but this is interesting. I'm looking at this one. Ooh, we got 5 minutes, so we can run through this real quick. Nikki, you posted something a little while back, last month. American Airlines passenger asked for reparations for being wedged between two obese people. I agree with that.
You
Who
read
told
the
y'all to
comment?
make these little tiny seats to the point to where I got to be that uncomfortable if it happened to be two big people sitting there?
If she didn't say anything in the moment, she need to shut the fuck up after the fact.
But does she? But does she? Does
We
it
have a
negate
picture
the
of the
fact that
wedge.
for does it negate the fact that for 2, 3, 4 hours, however long the flight was, and it could have been two skinny, it could have been two skinny people on the side of her. I don't care what size the person was. The fact that for my entire flight, I
Right.
was touched by other people and I could not make them stop touching me.
Did she say
That
anything in the I've been on a plane before. I had the mofo behind me take their sandals off and try and put their foot up on my armrest and thought
some
their little
people
nasty ass bare feet could be on my mofo, no.
some people don't. Some people don't. Some people don't
So
want to be in confrontational situations. Some people are
Right.
too afraid. Some people
And
feel
you
like
still
I
got
paid
somewhere you're trying to get to.
$700. I paid $700 for this flight. Why the fuck y'all got me squished up in between these folks? Move some
I
people
agree with that.
around. Why am
agree
I
with that.
being touched my whole flight? There's nobody on this panel who can sit there and say if somebody touched you, a total fucking stranger, for 6 hours straight, that one, you tolerate it, but two, wouldn't feel some type of way about it. Like, I don't think it was even a fat issue, but I understand why people, of course, responded with it being, two obese people sitting on the outside of another person. I think it was, for me, and I didn't comment on it because I didn't think that I could properly comment on it without sounding like an absolute asshole. So I figured I'd wait till we talk about it because I would absolutely have a fucking problem being touched the entire flight. I don't care if you were man, woman, attractive, unattractive, fat, skinny. I don't give a fuck. The fact that you were literally touching me all flight long is not my problem. This is what I paid these people to mitigate for me. Y'all fix this fucking problem.
That's the
I
difference
agree.
between flying regular class versus flying first class. Because in first class, and if you don't want to be touched and you want to make sure that you have that kind of room, then you pay the extra and you fly first class.
But I think people are paying enough to where we should be able to have a basic expectation of reasonable service. And me being like this for 3.5, that's not reasonable.
If you don't say anything to anyone about it, then what service could they have provided you if you kept your mouth shut?
No, she did say something. She's like, no, I want to be compensated for this bad flight.
Well, but during the flight, I don't know if you said something during the flight.
I couldn't find anything that says she said anything during the flight. So therefore, the airline and its staff were not even aware that there was an issue because, a stewardess might walk by and go, well, as a flight attendant, I would not be real comfortable in that position, but obviously they don't have an issue. I walked past, they didn't say anything, they didn't hit the little bell up there and call me over. So
if it's a full flight and what you gonna like that's that's half people's problem. And then when somebody break out fighting and cussing, then they be like, why you put them on blast like that? So what you like, I'm uncomfortable, I'm between two larger people and I'm uncomfortable. That's gonna create tension.
It's not like you have to sit the entire time before takeoff, though. As soon as some people sat like that and she saw that's how it was going to be, she could have gotten up, said, excuse me, gotten up and walked to the front where the flight attendant was and said something quietly so they wouldn't put nobody on blast. And maybe they could have moved some people around. Maybe there was a jump seat. Maybe there was another seat that they could have moved that person to. Unless it was a completely full flight. Now, I've only been upgraded to first class one time.
American Airlines, it ain't Southwest. You don't just pick your seats. You already got your seat picked out for you.
And I just don't know how it's exclusively the onus of the customer as opposed to the responsibility of the people that I'm paying a service for you to do a certain job.
The responsibility of the service ends with your safety. They got you on the plane. They made sure that all parties could buckle their seatbelt. Most flights, most airlines, the only time that they will upcharge someone for a seat because of their size is if they have to give them a seatbelt extender then they will charge them for a second seat if they're large enough, so that there's no problem with a person sitting next to them, right? But if the flight is completely booked and they see it's going to be a problem, the person who's that large gets booted off the flight if there's no open seats. They'll offer other people, hey, do you want to take a different flight? We'll give you vouchers. We'll blah, blah, blah. If somebody wants to take a later flight. But the responsibility was on this customer who now thinks that it's a paycheck from an airline that didn't even know there was a problem that they might have been able to rectify in the moment if they'd have known about it. You didn't say anything. You don't get to come back a week later and go, the more I thought about it, that was really not comfortable.
People do that at hotels all the time. I did not have a good experience here. And sometimes they will get partially or fully compensated. If you eat food and you have a bad food experience, and ideally somebody takes something, no, this ain't right, take it back. And then sometimes you'd be like, this wasn't a good experience. And they didn't say they just said she asked for reparations on it. And I'm like, I think it's fair to ask if you did not have a satisfactory flight. And then you say, all right, so what if you go into Hawaii and you got like a 14-hour flight? Is that okay to be wedged in between somebody for 14 hours?
I wouldn't have accepted it for a 40-minute flight. I wouldn't have done that from here to New Orleans.
So why? So I'm going here. Why does the passenger have to be put in a position to cry out versus the airline saying, why don't we make our ish a little bit more comfortable for everybody? So we see it's obviously they're so focused in on getting every penny that they can get that they'll keep squeezing all these little seats together so that they can get more people to buy these tickets. And the issue is their own greed is their greed supersedes basic comfortability for the passengers.
True.
And I'm not even a tall person, but I'm not a tall person at all. But I have I got bad knees and a bad back. By the time I get off these flights, I can barely stand up sometimes because the seats are the seat in front of me is so close to me. I'm like, I have no idea how a tall person actually deals with this stuff.
Yeah.
They sit on the emergency exit aisle. They get their tickets ahead of time.
And that's not right. You shouldn't have to do all of that just to have a comfortable flight.
Okay, if we're not revamping the entire airline industry and all of the seating, which is what now we're talking about doing, which I would agree with, because I have flown first class. I do know the difference in the comfort level. And honestly, I think that should be what, for the amount of money that we're paying for flights, that should be what we get every time. But the difference is in this situation, you're saying, why didn't the airline do something about it? Because I think that becomes a matter of perspective. And
no, I didn't say why didn't the airline do something about it. I'm just saying it's. I think it's fair for her to say this wasn't a good experience. I'd like to be at least partially refunded for my inconvenience. I don't think that's unfair I don't think that's an unfair request.
I saw a picture like yesterday or the day before of like 1960 something airliner, airplane, and it showed the inside of the airplane, and it was like, this can't fucking be real. It was like luxurious spaces, and I'm like, there was plenty of seating for everybody. There was like 2 huge rows, and I'm like, so they ripped all these fucking chairs out.
Everybody had recliner seats.
It was. I mean, it was like an actual leisure experience flying. You could smoke on the fucking airplane with your ashtray in the armrest. I remember, like, my first flight was just like that. But it's like, so to your point, they went in and they ripped all of that out to be able to shove more people on a freaking airplane. And if you're going to treat a person like they're just a number, well, then you might get hit in the pocket one fucking day for being a shitty corporation. And I don't think that you should have to pay more money for comfort. I'm paying money for comfort. I'm paying money for transport. I'm paying money for y'all to do your job. I mean, and like to your point, Q, like, how many other times do we come back after an experience and we complain or we voice our concern to management, and expect for them to hear us and listen to us? I was sad that everybody went like immediately to fat shaming over. I wouldn't want to be touched either. I would be so uncomfortable. Like, especially the day and age of fucking COVID now. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody wants to be touched for their whole flight. And yes, she should have said something, but we already know there's a lot of people who don't ever say anything in situations where most of us probably would speak up. So that doesn't mean that those people don't deserve a voice. That doesn't mean that those people don't deserve to be heard. Their complaints.
And sometimes you're just trying to be a good
heard.
sport. So you initially sitting down there,
right?
And you ready to get where you're trying to go. It's a little squished.
Right.
All right, let's get on the plane. And then an hour into it, like, damn, I can't even move. I can't even. I'm gonna have to make this person get up just for me to go to the rest. Like it becomes like the discomfort over time can grow and grow and grow over the course of that flight. And by the time you get off this flight, like, yo, this wasn't good. Y'all need to give me some of my money back. Like she could have had the intention of saying, all right, I just, I'll work this out, I'll deal with it. And then by the end, it's like, no, this ain't cool.
What if the plane had like a gang of
$500
turbulence and shit? It was like a bumpy flight. It was a long, bumpy flight. Like, that would just make me feel some type of way, period. Like, you might expect that on, let's say, a cramped subway or something, perhaps, where the standard is people are gonna be standing up if that bad boy gets full, but we're not standing on the plane. Like, we all sit down.
$6 versus $500.
Yeah, well, then there's that too, and shit. We're talking about $1,200 flights sometimes in some of these situations. I would have a problem with that too, and for that, it needs to be addressed with the airline industry. We're not going to sit up here and act like we don't have the country that we do. We got to address some of these issues. Like, this is real deal shit, and somebody,
because if you don't address it, the seats is gonna get smaller.
It's right, because they don't give a shit about our comfort level. They're
gonna be like, you know what?
As long
if we
as they
move this
make
here
it safely,
and we move the seats up just a couple inches, we move every seat up a couple inches, we can fit
get
6
the
more
most
seats
people
in the back, and they just gonna keep doing it.
This is the same thing that we're facing with the inflation of all of our cost of goods right now, is because corporations are profiting at record high 54% profit right now. Unbelievable record for all of history highs. Meanwhile, Nikki's Groceries, when you posted that, girl, I almost fell over.
Yeah.
And they will follow and they will watch where the dollars go. If people stop going to Whole Foods and start going to Aldi, stop going to H-E-B if they're going up that much there on their prices, and go to Dollar General and Aldi and go buy things, drop your brand loyalty. If an airline came out that had better seating, more space, and still got me there safely and could do it at a reasonable price, I'm going to tell everybody about it. Now, I'm not flying Spirit Airlines ever the fuck again. I'm probably never going to fly Frontier Airlines because I've had those experiences. They got me there.
Frontier.
Yeah.
I heard,
I made it,
but
like,
I made it.
I'll pay the extra.
But Jules, what you're talking about is the cricket effect. So what I mean by that is, y'all remember a little while ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago, longer than that, maybe 20 years ago, they were charging you for nighttime minutes, charging you for text messages.
Nights and weekends, I
I'll wait till such to call you.
And then it was 6 p.m.
And all of them was doing it. And then Cricket came out like, no, you get unlimited talk, unlimited text. Oh, shoot.
Everybody went to got them a prime code.
Everybody did it. And then what happened is all of the rest of the companies are, oh, okay, we're going to give you free text and talk. Y'all could have did that a long time ago. But it took one company to break the mold. And then they're like, oh, we got to change or so. And then, but the thing is, that's not going to happen because Walmart, Target, groceries, they're all in cahoots with each other. Gas stations, oil company. No company will lowball the other one to the point that it causes everybody to drop their prices down. Yeah. They all work together.
Yeah.
So they're like, we all keep our prices right here. And it's only a few outlets. There's no more Nikki's grocery stores and stuff like that. Yeah. You got Walmart, H-E-B. Ain't even no more Albertsons.
Walmart ate all them up. Walmart has a blueprint on how to ruin America.
Yep.
Walmart got it down. Like 3 blocks away from my house was LePaire's grocery store. They had been there since the 1950s. It was a mom and pop shop. Upstairs was their house, and downstairs in the front part was concrete floors, and it was their little grocery store. And they had a whole deli section. They had a butcher. Mr. George would do all the butchering. Miss Carol would sell you anything that you needed. They had all the basics that you could possibly think that you could want. And if there was something that you wanted, if you knew you were going to do a different thing than what you normally made, you could ask them and they'd have it for you next week. And then when the deliveries came in, you didn't have to go. Of course, I could also walk in and tell them I needed a pack of Saratoga menthol 120s for my mama and a pack of Marlboro Reds for my daddy, and walked out with them.
At 9 years old. At 9 years old.
Yes. But we could, I mean, I remember in 1989, December, it froze. We had ice and everything and snow, and my mom was stuck at work. She was a registered nurse working overnight. We had no food in the house. Mama called up over there and said, "Hey, Miss Carol, I didn't leave any money for the girls. Can they come down there and get some groceries in case this freeze lasts any longer and I can't get home to them?" Absolutely, baby. Have them come by, whatever they need. Put it on credit. Right. You don't get that anymore. You can't do that. Right.
Nope.
We've lost all of that because of, like you said, the Walmarts and these big.
Yeah.
And the worst part is people don't understand what they do to the people creating the products that are being sold in those places. Because my ex worked in retail, the Whole Foods and the Walmarts, and they will come in and they'll say, "Oh, okay, you can make this for 50 cents. Cool. Well, we're going to sell it for 75 starting, so you can still make a profit. We'll do a 1-year contract. Let's see how it goes. We're going to ramp up distribution. We're going to get you in all of our stores." And they're going to do a short-term contract. And when they go to renew you, they're going to go, "Okay, you were making it for 50 cents. You should have been able to drop that by now. So we need you to give it to us for 55 cents. Mm-hmm. We're not paying you 75 cents anymore for it. Yeah. We want it for 50. Oh no, we're selling it to the customer for $1 still.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But we're not paying you.
Your margin of profit anymore. Is going to.
I don't care what it cost you. I don't care that the cost of manufacturing went up. That's not our problem. You either sell it or we're going to find a similar product to put on our shelves.
And somebody will.
And they inflate these small businesses and then they bankrupt them when they won't play the game.
Yeah.
People think it's a wonderful thing when Walmart or any of these large conglomerates.
Nope. Box stores move in. It's bad.
Well, a lot of that people didn't realize what was happening until it's too late. And then you look around and all the local stores that you used to know, all of them gone.
Oh, I protested up in New Orleans before the Walmart. I was out there with a picket sign before they built the Walmart.
But you know, some of them places, like you will not find a Walmart anywhere in the city of Chicago. You got to go to the outskirts. You will not find one Walmart in the city. And it's a big city, and you won't find one.
Yeah, I guess we were in the suburbs when we were up there last July, and we did go to a Walmart, but they had so many other stores that you didn't really even need to go to a Walmart unless you absolutely had to. You had options. You don't have options. I guess, and that was my whole takeaway with the thread with the person sitting in the middle is. I don't think that the onus was exclusively on her. I think that there was an onus on the airline industry to provide a certain level of quality of care. And that's not to say that a big person doesn't deserve any less protection at all. But I would have a fucking problem being touched for an entire flight. Like, we would fight. We would by default. But that's me. I'd say something, right? The next person.
First thing I have to say, and I'm not super big, and usually a lot of people around me, but I had to break the wall. Like, look, hey, look, it's okay. Go ahead, lean up on me if you need to. It's all right. Right. Everybody's still trying to do this, trying not to touch each other. I'm like, yo,
right.
We're gonna be here for a second. It's all right. Just lean on me if you need to. It's all right.
Lay on out, lay it. And I don't even know what you're doing all that, man. Give me space. Shit.
But it ain't no like it's you either just gonna deal with it or you gonna be like this for the next 3 hours. And I'm like, I'm not about to do that. I don't want you to do that either. Just look.
Yeah, no.
We're gonna be cousins for the next 3 hours. Just go.
I'm glad you mentioned that one though. I'm glad you mentioned that one.
All right, we 145. We ain't gonna go 2.5 like we did last week.
Nah,
this ain't a hard close. This is a soft close, but we is gonna close. Denise Stokely, y'all ain't saying much today. Y'all got any final thoughts or words or whatever?
Go ahead, Denise.
Don't fly Frontier, man. No. She was on a Frontier flight. I don't care what she said. She said she was on an American flight. She was
She
on a
said it
Frontier
wasn't.
flight. I was on a Frontier flight. I had no space. Then the
Frontier
person
is
next
rough.
to me, I didn't have any space. My knees, I didn't have space. That shit was wild to me. It was
It's
so
that bad.
That was
And no
bad.
and I got a bad back and bad knees. I remember last time I was on Frontier, like I felt my back starting to spasm. I'm like, this is about to be real bad in a second, and my back start like it's rough. It's Frontier. I was on there.
I haven't flown in so long, but I don't like cramps. Y'all know I like to drive. Like I'm a car person. Like we always hop in a truck and we go. Like I like to have my own wheels. I like the convenience of getting there quicker by flight, but there's
that
nothing
3
I
hours
like
is a
about the
whole
flight
lot better than
experience.
18 hours. I tell you
I
that.
know, but I don't like people. I dislike people so much that a flight is just not good for my health, especially not one that y'all talk about. I'm gonna fucking lose it. I'm gonna lose my shit. I can't do it.
JetBlue's okay. Go JetBlue. But
JetBlue.
I do want to say this. I do
Southwest.
want to encourage more disagreements with respect. I think that's what Free Thinkers is about. Is about we disagree and we learn from the disagreements. There's things that I simply don't agree with, but I still learn from the conversation. I think like Q says, not going into things with like just generalizing everything. You can't say all this, all that. That's where we start getting into these issues where now we have people feel like they have to defend themselves instead of sharing an opinion. So I would love for us to like stay that way. I see some posts or some responses to posts where I'm like, okay, you're wildin'. But it's just like,
Oh, I saw the comments you had to delete.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
Yo, I was
Somebody
like,
got DM me about that. You ain't gonna spill it.
yo,
I was like, whoa, hold on.
Repeat that shit. I can't even repeat that shit. Yo, but it's just that it's just like I think also to make this point, it's like if you have an opinion and you generalize in that way, everything's going to get lost. If you don't know how to convey your message, it's like I ask this question all the time, even when I'm talking about my fave, Kanye. Do you want to be right or do you want to be effective? And a lot of times you can be right and effective. But if you don't know how to communicate it, guess what? Everybody's going to say, you're wrong.
Right.
And then what happened? Nothing. You get nothing got accomplished. So I do want to encourage that. And that's why I love coming to this group because it reminds me that I can be around people that I have a difference in opinion with, and we can still like respect each other. And then this final thing that I do want to say is just like there's a power in what's going on in social media. There's a lot of social engineering going on. And I just want everybody to be mindful of the social engineering that is going on and making sure that we're not taking the social engineering into our real lives. Like I had a whole conversation with my roommate, and this cancel culture is bleeding in to real life. The argumentative bullshit that happens on social media starts to bleed into real life. We can't act like that in real life. We can't. Is you can all that going back and forth and bantering and having no desire to understand another person. You can't do that in real life. The person on social media who you ain't gonna see until you log back in, you can do that with. You can't do that with the people that you see every day. So it's like we got to get to a better place with how we communicate.
Denise,
Period.
it's only gonna get worse. I'm telling. I see the few. As someone who engages in intense conversation over a period of time, last 13, 14, I literally see it getting worse over time, and it's only going to get worse.
I agree with you.
I see it.
I agree with you.
I think that's a great lead into another topic for another day. What's going on with the social engineering and the way that people think that they can just talk any kind of way to somebody and that they have that everybody's required to listen to them. That And how does that play into these massacres that we see and these other things that this privilege that people are walking around with, that when they're so angry, they think that they can go and take out an entire school, a mall, a grocery store, or whatever of people because their opinion, they weren't heard. And they have this right to it. Ain't nobody got no right to be heard. But social media makes them think that they do.
You made me think of a topic.
Let's do this one next week. That's a good one. I love
that. I want to come up with something called the rabbit hole, and we could talk about any particular thing, and then just accumulate. What is this? What's going to be the next step to this? And then when that happens, what happens to this? And ultimately, what's going to be the end game of this thought or this mindset or this groupthink or cancel culture or whatever? What is if we follow down the rabbit hole, what's going to be the end result, and how will our society look at the end of it? I'm gonna put that together.
Yeah, I should choose your own adventure book. I love that.
Let's do it.
Choose your own adventure books were my favorite as a kid.
Side note, before I get to Stokely, if you want to pay attention to people who talk and are effective, he real quick, he's so clever. Listen to Denzel Washington and his interview. He is a master of interpreting what the person is trying to get to and knowing how to say what he want to say without giving them that sound bite that they're looking for. Like he is pay attention to some of the stuff. He's a master at how he goes about speaking his mind without allowing people to catch him up in little trigger words and a little cancel culture type stuff.
And put words in his mouth.
Yep, exactly. Stokely, what you think, sir?
Man, it's just been tonight's conversation was good. It made me think a little bit while we were on the fly. The first part of it, the intelligence thing. So I'm just gonna keep reading. Denise made a good point. Don't fall into those traps, of where social media is leading us and leading just people to do crazy shit. But I think we do need to be able to have constructive conversations, and people need to be able to take constructive criticisms. But we're losing that. We're veering off the path of being able to have those conversations. Again, I'm glad that Free Thinkers is here to, it gives us the space to have these conversations amongst ourselves and, bounce things off each other. That's what needs to happen more with just in general. In general, I work with some crazy people. I know I am the most sane person at my job. No doubt. And so, but I sit there and I listen to them and we'll bounce things off one another or each other. And in my mind, I'm saying these motherfuckers are just crazy. But I can't say it out loud.
Right.
But, and the next day we'll come back in and someone will strike up another conversation. And that's what makes the world go round. Now, I don't agree with everything, and I'm sure they don't agree with everything that I say. But we've got to find a better place in this world, or we'll all be that rabbit hole Q was talking about going down into. It's going to end. And we ain't none of us going to be here because either these crazy white people will start shooting up shit, everything, or, we going to start shooting up shit. And it's just crazy. So that's all I got, man. I
also want to give a shout out to Free Thinkers as well. When I'm having I don't know who deals with it. I deal with this a lot. When I'm having conversations, I find myself often having to suppress my thought or pull back in certain spaces because I can quickly see, this person or this group of people are not ready for this type of conversation. I'm like, ooh, this is not Free Thinkers. This
ain't my spot. This ain't my space.
I can just tell. Right. And I can tell. And it does make me appreciate like having a space where I can actually have these conversations. I realize there's in a lot of spaces that I operate in, I can't you know, and that's I ain't gonna call it intelligence, but I'll call it just awareness. Like,
Yeah,
nah,
social awareness is
yeah,
crucial, and that's the good thing about you guys. I mean, I say this, you know, because I would go crazy coming from work and then coming. Y'all, this is relaxing as hell to me.
Yes, we've been
Dealing with
trying to
them
tell
folk I
people
deal with
to
at work.
like it.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
yes, I mean the space is awesome. Everybody here is an intelligent person. If you don't like that, everybody here is smart, whatever you want to call it, emotionally intelligent. Shit, I don't know. Knowledgeable. There you go. But everybody here has something good to say, and something that makes us all the rest of us think.
Yes,
So that's
and
that's
how is
that's
that a
good.
bad
That's
thing?
good.
Yeah,
It's
how is that a
not.
bad thing?
It's wonderful. So
Mm-hmm.
if we can keep doing this and gather more people and you know, just it's I
Spread the
enjoy
word.
Tuesday nights. I
Spread the
enjoy
word,
Tuesday nights.
spread the word, spread the word. You gotta hit that
Yeah.
share button. Tell people about us. You know, let people know that there's some grown ass folk over here
She'd have
who
just
like
took my
talking
shit
about a
and
lot
took
of
it to the
shit.
out.
You know,
she,
send it,
I segued to the out. Okay, shit.
put it out
Okay.
there, send it out there, send it to the masses. I mean, we. It's rare that we cancel. Q was involved in a group many years before I ever came about. Denise was around, Jules was around, and we created Free Thinkers almost 6 years ago. It'll be January. Like, this is what we do. This,
Yeah.
I used to joke all the time. I don't know about church, but this must be what it feels like because I feel good when I leave these Tuesday nights. And, this is when we used to meet in person. So not only did you have the element of being able to have safe conversation, you were able to have it in person with people and like get a fucking hug afterwards, or maybe share a coffee or whatever your libation of choice was, that you brought from home as you was coming to the meeting on Tuesday night.
I forgot about that. I sure brought something extra with
I
me.
know you did. Shit, we would kick it
Peach cobbler
afterwards.
when he was real lucky.
Yep. So I mean, it's we love this thing, and no matter how many times we talk about a topic, like no matter how many times we talk about it, we'll keep on talking about stuff because if you do this long enough with us, you'll see all of our perspectives have probably changed somewhere in here, to a degree here and there. So like, this is just we can sit on this thing every Tuesday and talk. We can have a topic, we cannot have a topic, but like, we're going to do what grown-ups should be doing, and we invite more grown-ups to do this with us because we don't know what it is, but it works. It feels good. It's powerful when it's all said and done. So I'm grateful for you guys for always giving us your Tuesday. Like, me and Q finna be here, but y'all give us your Tuesday. Y'all give us your night. Y'all give us your time away from your families and your hobbies and your passions, and have made this become part of your routine. So we thank y'all. And for people who watch us and maybe not able to participate, you're part of the fucking family too. Like, knowing on Wednesday and Thursday that our videos are going to have 30 plus views, and we didn't even see 30 people on the damn channel. So we appreciate people who support us even afterwards, but like, come and have a conversation.
They be lying.
With
You
us.
can't even pay attention. I learned they be lying all the time.
Who?
Statistics on the numbers.
Facebook, yeah, they lie
Oh.
on the numbers. They want you to pay for your views, so they'll suppress them. And I saw a guy that I watch. He's a Christian. He's like a Christian vlogger or whatever. But he kind of crazy off chain. His name Larry Reed or whatever. And he posted that, like, he was like, "See, that's why I'm not messing with Facebook no more." So it was like, it showed like his little stats or whatever showed like 145 views, but he had like 200 some comments on.
Right,
He's
like,
like,
how is
how
that
I
even
only got
possible?
145 views when I got 200 comments? It's like y'all over here
Playing with the
playing.
numbers. They definitely play with
And
the
I
numbers.
realized that even like, especially either doing this and doing high IQ, you look in there, look like, 1, 2, 5. This. When I'm out and around, people come to me all the time. Yeah, I be watching your show, this and this. I'm like, really?
Yes.
Because just because people
Same.
don't comment, people are watching all the time. And so many people come to me talking about different stuff, and I want to chime in, and I'm thinking about this, and like, the numbers don't reflect that, so I know the numbers is lying. I can tell, so I don't even pay attention to that because they be lying.
Yep. But come join us. Come be a part of it. Come join us. Come jump on live. Come give us some suggestions. We appreciate the last couple of weeks. People have given us some topic suggestions. If you have
tired of the small talk and you want to
Yeah.
actually be in a respectful space and get deep, this
Yeah.
is the place to be.
Yeah.
If you're not comfortable doing, conversation online, that's fine. Still give us your topic ideas. We'll still talk about
Come on.
shit. We want to talk about whatever people want to talk about.
I take
Bring
it
it.
easy on you the first time you come on anyway.
Maybe.
I don't even argue much with you.
Maybe.
I go along with whatever you. Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
No,
thank you.
no, we're not doing that. We're not going
I
along
do.
with that.
On the first time somebody come in, I'll be real nice. Okay, that's interesting. Thank you for that. Okay. I'm like, I'm gonna go at you next week, but I'm gonna let you get all the thoughts out.
Yeah, that's always a strange one when you get a weird virus person jump in here and you're like, oh, okay, all right, okay.
All right,
Anyway.
we hit 2 hours. Good night, y'all.
Good night, y'all. Thanks for coming. We'll see y'all next week.
Y'all take care.
All right, good night.
Bye.